Your 2023 Legacy Champion.
TK?
Next on Eternal Turtles.
Hey, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of our Patreon supporters out there. Thank you to the Dirtle Maniacs. If you want to be a Dirtle Maniac, go to patreon.com/EternalDirtles and help support the channel. It keeps things going. It keeps things updated. Thanks so much for watching. On with the show. Hello and welcome to Eternal Turtles. I'm your host, Zach Clark, and with me as always, Phil Blackman. Phil,
Zach,
how's it going, man?
Zach, in April 2017, Sensei's Divining Top was banned, and Miracles was left by the wayside, and Belief was gone. But today on the episode, the triumph of TK, Miracles is back at number 1, baby. TK, welcome to the cast.
Hey, y'all, how's it going?
Yeah, man. A pleasure to have you. And yeah, the prophecy is revealed. Miracles is back. TK, congratulations and well done on your run on, I guess, last weekend now.
It's been 5 days. Oh, God.
Full 5 days. We got you in before the full week was up.
Oh, man, it's been a wild adventure. I'll tell you this much. Time doesn't matter. Like everything, disbelief. It's been a wild adventure. I don't even know where to start.
You had a hell of a run at Eternal Weekend. Obviously, I mean, you won the thing. But I think the first thing people want to know is how did you land on this deck?
So, as most people know me, I don't play blue decks often. I play Maverick. I play fair green creatures and white creatures and trying to beat you down that way. But I always loved 4-color builds because my EDH heart, which is Uterus, by the way, I love playing 4-color, but I just never really found like the deck for me until I found Matthew Vook's finals on a Legacy Challenge that was 4-color, no red, and which I said, we're taking this deck and we're going with it. So I want to say like a month and a half later, after rigorous testing and my friends going to Prague and getting feedback from that, this is kind of where the list that we decided to go.
Awesome.
Did you know?
Well, I know.
Go ahead.
Go on, Phil. I just about to pass it to you anyhow.
I just want to know, as your fellow miracle brethren here, did you know going in that? I mean, I get that like Triumph of St. Catherine had the all of the bluster on it going in into the finals and like how good it looked in the finals because like it just knocks Delver to the ground. But like, was in your testing and then throughout the tournament, was Triumph like the thing that converted most of your wins, or was it the Beanstalk and the Murktides and everything else that we've come to expect at this point?
I would say it's more. I would say most of my wins, if I had to quantify it, 70% Catherine, 20% Beans with Catherine, and then the others is just like random Bowmaster, Murktides, whatever. Being able to cast Catherine for 2 mana and start beating people down with it, it's just a huge game change in the control mid-range philosophy. Which that's kind of why on my deck list I said mid-range and not control, because it's acts like it's a mid-range deck, though it looks like a control on when you lay it all out.
And there's a bias there as a Maverick player to just say mid-range too.
Oh, 100%. Oh, and I do not want to give y'all that satisfaction saying control.
Can Miracles be classified as anything else?
Yeah.
My friends joked me, congratulations, you became what you hated all along.
Live long enough to see yourself become the villain, am I right? But
basically,
really, you're forging the frontier because nobody has been able to like test with Triumph online. This is still like your win was the catalyst for everybody being like, Daybreak, figure it out.
Yeah. How does it feel to have a impact on MTG Finance?
True. You move the market, TK.
I am finally, after all these years of playing this game, have influence in the game. I have affected MTG stocks. I've affected professional players playing the deck. Actually, on Twitter, Maguchi just tweeted out that he's running my list tonight, which
Nice.
I'm just like, so this is now reality.
It starts out surreal, but you're gonna get used to it real fast, I think.
Oh, yeah, this is, and here we are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
TK, this begs the question: did you have? I get that this is the biggest tournament win of your Magic career, yeah.
Yeah. hmm
What was is have you had an experience like this at like even close to what it must what it feels like to like become the legacy champion of North America?
Nope, not at
Yeah.
all. This I had a lot of top
Mhm.
16s, a lot of IQs and like the smaller store level. I've got finalists and maybe I squeaked out like first place here and there, but that was on like the store level. That's but not on the national level, which here we are, and it is life changing.
Yeah. No
Let's
doubt.
say.
Yeah, but
You got that lightning bolt ready to go?
Oh yeah, no, my friend actually, I just dropped it off to my friend who's a framer, so that's all
Nice.
gonna get art like protected and do all the rigmaroles because that I will never let go. like,
Yeah, that's
no,
it's a
that's
wonderful
staying with me.
trophy. So let's go into your tournament a bit. So you showed up, and I think the first match you played against was Reanimator. Which tell me a little bit about how you feel about that match going into the tournament.
I don't want them turn one in Griselbrand. That's basically how this goes. If I survive turn one Griselbrand, I have a shot. If they have turn one Griselbrand, I do not have a shot. That's kind of how this goes. So game one, they go for it, and I'm just you know go to game two.
Yep.
Game two, similar way. They griefed me. They stripped my hand apart. I messed up that I took out some swords, but I got there. So in game three, I boarded them back in, and it actually mattered. And that that side in my sideboard, I did a last minute change. So I used to run Unlicensed Hearst, which is a 2 mana tap XL up to 2 cards from a single person's library. And Matthew Vook, who was the one that made the deck really popular, reached saw me in fact and we talked and he said try Spellbomb and he'll Spellbomb instead. And so I did, and I found it and I casted it and I won the game.
Yeah. There you go.
Again.
An auspicious beginning to a wild tournament for you.
Oh, I yeah, it's been that round one was going to be like, okay, this is not going to be easy. Here we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. So round two, you run up against Dimir Death Shadow,
hmm
and
Uh,
so how do you again? Like I like to get in the mind frame here. How did you feel about this matchup walking into the tournament?
I had some playtests against a lot of blue decks, and thankfully, my LGS, my friends, we kind of ran through like a series of decks that we would expect to see. So, like Initiative, Painter, Shadow, Delver, Acast, Storm, like the top 10, let's say. So Shadow was one of those matchups where as long as I have a swords, I'm pretty favored. And it happened because my opponent thought I was on bug control because I never revealed white at all. And up until I found the fetch land and I just cast swords on the Murktide and it's one-sided terminus
Oh my
as the tale
gosh.
is always time.
Yeah, it has to feel
Clear,
so good.
put them back up to 14, kill their dash shadows, and it's
see,
knocks out.
I'm just
I
saying,
have been
we're
on that.
already talking, we're already relating everything to miracle terminology here. Like
Yeah.
you have crossed the Rubicon, my guy. Welcome.
Yeah. I've been on the receiving end of losing two Death Shadows to a Swords of Plowshare, so I know how just baller it is to just Swords of Plowshare is one of them, but to hit a Murktide and get the a Death Shadow off of it, that's
That's
chef's kiss from the other
it's
player's perspective.
it's disgusting. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
Through
And so that's basically how that worked in round two.
through the first two rounds, you went up against very clearly Thoughtseize heavy, strip your hand apart shells. does it feel like the build that you played is well lined up against cards that attack your hand?
Yeah, it's one of those things where all of my threats have some, I will not recursion, but you have to get rid of them multiple times to kind of really lock me out the
Mhm.
game. Catherine, for example, when she dies, shuffle it, and the other six top cards of your library back on top. So eventually, I will see Catherine again.
Mhm.
So yeah, the Dotsies decks aren't. I would say it depends which Thoughtseize deck it is. If it's spell based like Storm, that's kind of difficult to beat because most in mid range food cycle, as you say, we kind of get preyed on combo.
And
um,
and you're not getting they're not giving you the time to gain that value back from your beanstalk, you know.
yeah, yeah. And most times when they go turn one Thoughtseize, turn two the rest, or turn things like that, my beans are not as high impact. So, which is why I kind of trim some in those games because I need to have a hate bear, or in this case, a 3 mana bear, either opposition agent or Leovold, and just keep as much Force of Will and Veil back up as possible because I just have to survive the early onslaught of just being run over by just so much discard.
Mhm.
So next you're up against Temur Delver. I'm assuming this was just blue red Delver with questing druids, I should say.
This one actually ran beans.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
So this
okay.
is the old school Red Delver with what's the I can't remember the green monkey.
Hooting Mandrills.
There you go. Hooting Mandrills.
that's my invitational card right there.
Okay. All right. So game one it really came down to who had more beans. I did. Game two, I lost to very early Darcy, Delver, Questing Druid, kind of like getting Delvered out. And then game three, it came down to me having more, not having more beans because my opponent had 4 beans and I only had 2, but my bindings found me better cards faster than their cards drawing them. So yeah, that's how that worked.
It's so
I'm just noticing something looking at your record here. You have 2 rounds where you played 2 games. Those are wins for you, but you played 3 games in every other round that you played. Now I don't know about the finals because it doesn't say in the finals. Did you play 3 games in the finals?
We played 2.
You played 2. Okay, so that has to be like that. There's a level of attrition there, just making you think that much more during the day.
Hmm.
Did you notice that with the deck as you were playing, or did you just think whatever? I'm just making it to the next round. If I have to, if I have to leverage my sideboard to get these wins, I'll do it.
This is where the trick came in today. Throughout the tournament, we wrote a sideboard guide to alleviate brain power.
Smart. I did as well. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, at these
and
big events.
and the other thing I started to do after round two was immediately when I got up from my match, I went outside to get air for like 5 to 10 minutes because when you're in a convention hall all day for 12 hours,
Yeah.
you're breathing the same air. It's recirculating, but it's not that fresh, river air, whatever we want to call it. And that really helped me kind of just keep my mind sane for 9 rounds all day.
And we had the battle the battle cry of the cheerleading convention happening next door as well, which constant noise there.
It's never a magic event without a cheerleading competition.
It's so weird. How does that always happen? I can think of at least 4 off the top of my head that you're at a magic event and then there's like a cheerleading competition next door. It's like they scheduled them together or something. They must get a discount. There's like a tack on fee.
So I just want to point out, I'm looking at the Temur Delver list, and uh, something. So in this list, I don't see any Hooting Mandrills, but they do have Ethereal Forger. Uh,
Oh, that's
that
what it
was
was.
which is the, but
Okay.
but I remember I was actually there was one point where I forget exactly when, but I was talking to Anurag. I think it was at the last Magic Con we went to, Zach. I was talking to Anurag, and I was saying, hey man, we need to like figure out this Beans deck with Hooting Mandrills and Ethereal Forger, not because the deck is necessarily good, but if you have Hooting Mandrills and Ethereal Forger in the same deck, you can call the deck Hootie and the Blowfish. and that's worth it. That's worth it enough.
Oh man, what a missed opportunity.
Phil, you know what you
Oh
have to
man.
do.
You shouldn't even call it Hootie and the Blowfish. You should just call it I Only Want to Be With You and make people ask. You're like, I don't understand why this deck is called this. And then someone explains it and they're like, I hate that you explained this to me.
I wish you'd never. I wish I never knew. I would be rather be just ignorant.
You
We have
all
to
right, so
know, and now this is we know what the future is. We know where we're going now.
Okay, so next is Naya Depths. Tell me how you felt about this one going in.
Oh, this one was very interesting. So typically with depth matchups, it's as from the Mavericks perspective, you generally just want to just overwhelm your opponent's force of wills because more times than not, you're you're not really going for the 2020 kills. You're going for, well, at the time now it's fourth Aerlingus kills, but you just generally want to grind up with knights and reclaimers and being able to just mm, see a window when you can make the 2020. Um, or if you just have you just green sense for safekeeper, then just make the 2020. Yeah, can't do anything.
Yeah.
But from my side, the blue side, it was more of I need to draw better than their. I need to find my threats faster than they can find their crop rotations because I need to slam Catherine to start gaining life. Because if they start making 2020, I need to be above 20.
Was there ever a situation in the match where that happened?
I don't think so. But I will tell you though how I won game three. So my opponent has a safekeeper and a bunch of lands. They're not doing anything, and I have two beans and bindings for days. So at some point I said, I'm just and there's an opposition agent. That's important too. Uh, that's kind of important for this one. So I
Okay.
so I binding trigger beans to start drawing two cards, knowing that the only target I have is a safekeeper. They're going to use it to give it shroud. I'm just churning my deck over because I'm just casting these bindings and drawing two cards. So it's kind of like I forgot what the blue card is. It's 2 mana draw two. I think it's miscalculation. I don't remember, but at some point all four beans were out. So all four bindings were out.
Oh my
So
gosh.
speaking as your fellow miracle bro, I believe the card you're thinking of is predict, and let me tell you, it is a lovely drug. It's a lovely drug, and I invite you to try it.
Oh, I am becoming what I hate.
So ultimately, so you just you flipped over all of your beans, and then
And
they
then
sacked all their lands, like they were just too low.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they opted to just keep protecting safekeeper, and when they because the thing was they could not remove opposition agent at all. Op stayed on the battlefield, and they revealed their hand of two green sun zeniths, a crop rotation. It was pretty much lights out.
That must have felt good.
Yeah.
Oh, it felt real
Yeah.
good, and it's staying in the sideboard forever.
Yeah. So then we go up, not the same deck, but a very similar style of deck is land. So you play lands next.
This is one of those matchups where I wish I'd never get paired ever again, because it's a matchup where it's really rough from my side of the field.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
Wasteland is tough for you to begin with, but if they could recur it or whatnot, or just call them up constantly,
it's Maze of Ith.
yeah.
I
Ooh,
can't beat Maze of Ith. If they have an early Maze of Ith, I really need to start. I don't really have much ways to kind of swarm the field fast enough. So if they get to make multiple Maze of Iths, I can't win the game. So
that makes
game
sense.
one, I stole. I made her. I was able to reveal an early Catherine miracle and just pressuring it down and just force the will all crop rotations because I would just lose on the spot if they get Maze of Ith. So I was able to win game one. Game two, I messed up in that I should have just played my basics out early because they had a life of the loam engine going.
Oh,
So the game went out too long and I lost my resources, so that's what happened. Game three was more back and forth. They didn't have an early box diamond or early exploration. They kind of just slowed, like they just played a land every turn, Urza Sagas. But what was a game defining moment was We're in turns. It's my turn, and it's turn 5. I have a Murktide, that's a 7/7, and a token, a Bowmaster token. And my opponent is at 8 life. They have a Construct token. I draw Dress Down. I cast Dress Down, and I attack through.
Oh, dress down. Phil, we'd love to see it.
We love to see it. We look. If your opponent has the Urza Saga construct, they're not the good guy. You can't be the good guy with Urza. If you're playing Urza Saga, you just can't be the good guy. Like Zach, I'm sorry,
No.
bud. I know you play a lot of Urza Saga.
I'm not the good guy.
Like,
look, we know this. Look, I am the Razor Ramon of this podcast. Let's be for real. I'm dressed like right now. I'm dressed like I'm Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, but as like a Pac-Man arcade system.
When everybody kept asking, people would come up to me at EW and be like, "Why does Zach have a toothpick in his mouth?" And I'm like, he's the bad guy.
Oh man, at Rutgers there's an actual building called Scott Hall, and I was the only one who would walk by laughing like a madman all the time, and I don't think anybody else knew what I was on about. So next is Doomsday. So let's talk about Doomsday, because I feel like this is a matchup that's super tough for your deck, because while you do have a swath of permission, you're not out there trying to stop combo decks. You're more about the fair matchups.
Yeah, going into this tournament, I said to myself, if I face Doomsday or Storm, I'm okay. It's 5% of the field. If you face it, you face it. We've done our best with it. Call it a day. So game one, I won. Because the Doomsday pilot did they didn't have a Force of Will to counter my Force of Will. So that. Oh no, actually, sorry. I won game one because I dressed down when they cast Thassa's Oracle. That's what happened.
That's beautiful. That's the best. That's the best possible scenario.
Yeah,
for
this
you.
singleton dress down coming up big. Yeah. We love it. We love to see it.
Yeah. And then game two, I was able to fluster the first Doomsday that they did, and some turns later I found Miracle Catherine, and then they Doomsdayed again, and then Thoughtseize themselves down to 5, not realizing that Catherine can attack next turn. So that's what happened.
That'll do it.
So we take those W's. We take the W's and we run.
Take the W's, we run. The real miracle is them not realizing that miracles can attack now.
Yeah.
I got a couple of wins that I would say I did not deserve on the day myself, where opponent swords one of my guys, put me to 21, and then did not attack with his Elvish Reclaimer when he made a Merit Lage, and I was like, okay, I'll untap and attack and poison you.
I would like to reframe, Zach.
I'll take
I think the most deserving wins are the ones where your opponent puts themselves to lethal. That's the
yes.
Yeah. You deserve those more than any other win.
I don't. Yes. I think you're actually correct here. When your opponent literally just says, "Please, I'm offering myself up on a silver platter," puts the apple in their mouth and the little weight things on their feet, ropes. And just I think you're right.
So
Phil.
one of my favorite stories of any time an opponent kills themselves accidentally or inadvertently is one of my close friends named Sam Marukas. He's also a Miracles bro, or used to be, and he was traveling with me on this event. And it's a story that we bring up every time. And he was playing against Reanimator a long time ago. And this is back when they were still playing Chancellor of the Annex and whatnot. And his opponent has all of the resources that they could ever want. It's easily their game to win. And they are at a relatively low life total after reanimating a couple times. They reanimate, target their Chancellor. Sam's like, it resolves. I have you at -4. And his opponent is like, that is correct. And scoops up their cards. We love those wins.
Oh, no.
We love them. We take them. We love them.
All right. So now we're on to, this is, spoiler alert, this is your first match loss of the day, is Cephalid Breakfast. How did you feel walking into the tournament with this, and then what happened?
Well, here's the thing. I didn't know my predator was a Cephalid Breakfast because I got deck checked.
Oh.
This is what happened. So I present Judge calls me over. Judge collects our decks. We wait, we talk. Then I get pulled aside, and they're doing like a couple of questions and asking me how I built the deck, and I'm just like answering them. By the way, I'm a level two, retired level two judge, so I'm just making like I'm myself. It's just listening to like why are they asking these questions, and then they asked the question of how many islands are you registering today, and I just said one, and then it said your list runs two. I'm like, two? And then I realized, like, oh, right. So the night before, I decided we could run three underground seas. Because at some point in testing, I had two islands because I wanted to really beat Blood Moon. Forgot to change the list.
Oh
Submitted
man.
as is.
Oh, so your list had two
Oh.
underground sea, two island written down, but you
Yeah,
were playing
yeah,
the third on.
yeah,
I see. Okay.
yeah. So that's how we got that game loss.
Right on. Well, I mean, if you're gonna lose one, I mean, you might as well lose one to yourself, right?
Yeah. So, and what was really funny was that in game two, they'd they went through the combo and milled themselves out, but they stopped when they had two cards in their library. And I was like, why do you only have two cards? Like, why didn't you go with it? And then I realized, oh, you have Dread Return in your hand. Oh, I can still win. Sword's your thing. Mill. Pass turn. Sword's
Nice. Well,
and then
you gotta take what you get right there.
yeah, and in game three, they just had 1-2 punch. I just can't. I lost.
Well, I mean, obviously you won every other round for the tournament, so you didn't let that screw up get in your head, which is really smart.
Nah, nah. And like I was figuring that if I lose, I lose. It's okay. I kept saying this motto to myself: winning is secondary, having fun is mandatory. And it just
Yeah,
kept saying that throughout the whole day.
and it seems to have worked out. All right, so now we've got Is It Tempo? Why is this deck not called Is It Delver? Is it a Delver deck?
I don't know.
Let's find out. I'm about to find out right now.
It is.
It is not a Delver deck.
Oh,
It.
well, actually, will explain why when they predicted
Oh no, wait, they
themselves.
do have Delver. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I was like, this is a 4 Dragon Rage Channeler, 4 Delver of Secrets deck. It's very much
Yeah,
Delver. Yeah.
it's a Delver deck. I don't know why they didn't say Is It Delver. Anyhow,
Yeah.
so how'd this match go for you?
Oh, just my friend Paul Lynch, who is a big time legacy pilot of all Delver variants, we play this matchup religiously, and to the
Yeah,
point where it's kind of like second nature to me. Like I know what to side in, I know what to side out, I know what cards I need to Pyro Blast, Hydro Blast, and that's it. So
yeah.
game one, I had an early beans, I had an early binding, and Catherine's just gave me so much life. I was out of reach. Game two, they had an early Darcy. I had no removal. I died to that. Game three, I had a lot of cantrips trying to find the swords, and eventually I drew into my removal suite. And at some point, the game drawn out to I have 8 lands in play, and so I cast a Leovold. It resolves. Then I cast a Murktide. It resolves. And at some point, I don't remember, but I know my opponent tried to pop at me, press progress. In which case, I just revealed this Hydro Blast, and I just said GG.
Yeah. So you didn't end up leveraging St. Catherine in this match at all.
It's not much so. Like Catherine helped out, but sometimes having an 8/8 dragons is faster than a 5/5.
Yeah.
It turns out,
Also,
yeah. And I only say that because your deck seems poised to destroy. Is it Delver in this scenario? Just because between just being able to go over the top, having the removal suite, and on top of that, having Geist of Saint Catherine, Triumph of Saint Catherine to gain life, just seems like every angle of your deck is built for this specific matchup.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's I so far I have a 90% rough percentage win rate against all the other
mhm.
variants. Um, and it's just at this point it's second nature.
Yeah,
So
game ones, it's very difficult for them to remove both. I mean, Triumph as its own thing, but like game ones is also very hard for them to remove a resolved Murktide if they're in this case their one unholy heat is out of range. Then they have to add minimum 2 for one themselves. which is
Mhm.
obviously not going to be great. So they have to fight over that stuff on
And
the
if
stack.
you have a counterspell, that's
It's
bad.
bad. So they have to fight over it on the stack. Also, this particular list was playing 3 predict in what is otherwise a Delver shell. Now, if for like context, if you were to take the rug list that won Europe and remove
Mhm.
the questing druids and put in predicts in that slot, it's the same list for the most part. Now he removed the portents and he added a little bit more soft counter magic, added the unholy heat and the stuff that was going with the druids. But otherwise, it's just like classic, very clean blue-red Delver with predict, setting up with Dragon Rage Channeler and whatnot that also can like help turbo your Murktides. But like this list is not suited to deal with a Triumph at all. Even though and even so post board, like he was on 2 price progress post board. Typically, the way that people will navigate against Triumphs, and I know TK knows this because he is now the Triumph marquee. But when you're playing against Delver with Triumph, and for the people who eventually maybe not ever get to do it on Moto, what happens is they'll try and force your Triumph and then surgical it. And this Delver player was not playing any surgicals on the board, so they were just not respecting Triumph at all coming into this event. It seems like hoping that Price of Progress was going to carry them, and as we have learned, not the case.
Not the case. Speaking of villains from before, now you go up against 8cast.
8cast. So this matchup was one of those things where, in theory, I'm favored, but in actuality, it might be a problem. So game 1, this was round 9 at this point. Like I'm just dead. My brain does not remember anything at all after this. The only thing I remember mostly was that Catherine's won me the match because in game 3, my opponent had a Kappa Cannoneer attached to a Shadow Spear, and I had 2 Catherines, and I realized that at some point I'm going to win this race.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all they wrote.
Tough to beat multiple Baneslayers. Also,
Yeah.
And like you had said before, you have access to Dress Down, which is good in this matchup. Obviously you don't have any like giant like, oh, I'm just gonna get rid of all the artifacts, but you are playing 2 Pernicious Deed in your board, so
Oh yeah, I did deeds. I did
that
deed them
seems
once. Yeah. I did
that
do
seems like
once.
it's pretty good.
Also,
Yeah.
I have found, and TK, tell me if this was your experience as well in testing and in this matchup. I also find Kappa Cannoneer to be fairly, like, if Kappa Cannoneer isn't like blitzed on turn 1 with force backup, or turn 2 rather with force backup, it's relatively anemic against the control deck because you eventually just get to like turn off the ward by paying for it. And it's just like, it does not hit nearly hard enough because the ward just does not have the same kind of text that it does against like Delver or another deck that's not trying to hit every land drop all the way down into the late game. Is that
Yeah.
like what you've experienced?
Yeah. Yeah. So there actually was a judge call about Ward because under there was a question about when does Ward, when does the trigger on Ward get missed? Because under my assumptions, if you target a creature with Ward, you have to announce Ward at that moment, and you take another game action, you missed a trigger. But in actuality, it's actually under the triggers on like Paralysis and Exalted, where it only matters when it becomes relevant. So if I swords it and you force it with my swords and I counter it, like okay, then we go back to the swords and then you said trigger and I still would have to pay. So that was a misunderstanding on my part and that's caused like a 10-minute judge call. But during that time I realized, oh, I'm just gonna win. I don't need this. This sword cannot
Get out of here,
resolve.
judges.
This sword cannot resolve, and that's fine because I'm still gonna win.
That is good. That is good to learn because like I did not know that Ward fell under the prowess rules. I would have assumed that like
Yeah.
if you swords and then another game action is taken, I would have had the same thought that you did, that they just missed the Ward trigger because I assume that you would have to announce it because I would think it's similar
Yeah.
to like a chalice check.
Yeah. But
Well,
yeah, it's under that category.
As an 8cast player, I'm so used to just being like Ward. Like as soon as it happens, I like pick the card up. I'm like, are you dumb? So I feel like I would never miss that trigger. But now knowing that I can't miss that trigger for the most part is kind of great.
That's how Zach actually talks to his opponents too. He's like, "You absolute, buffoon, you fool,
I'm an absolute monster when I'm playing.
You
Magic the Gathering,
absolute dolt. Do you not know?"
You should see me play with my nephews. Oh, They're just crying afterwards. It's terrible.
making kids cry in 2023.
Oh my god. All right. So then, 4-color tempo. What 4 colors are they playing?
I think it was non-white.
Non-white. Yeah. Yeah. That looks like it. Basically, this looks like garbage pile.
That's not an
This is
insult.
like-
That's what the deck is called.
That's not an insult.
This is
That's
just
not an insult.
all the cards you would want to play in these colors. If you were a legacy deck, right? You've got Dragon's Blade Chandlers, Bowmasters, Seek the Beast, Questing Druid, and Murktide, and then your classic counterspell / cantrip suite.
It kind of reminded me of like Check Pile, like way back in the day when you ran Strix,
Death Ray Shaman.
Leovold, Deathray Shaman. So it kind of felt in that regard. Which, by the way, if there's any deck I miss the world that I want to come back, it's Check Pile. But we can never have Deathray Shaman ever again.
Yo, let Death Ray come on. I'll happily terminus your board. Bring it back.
No.
Bring it back in.
I will sacrifice. I will say that we do not want that card back. So game 1, I believe early Catherine just shut them out.
Love it.
Game 2, they Darcy'd me, or they early Murktide me. I can't remember most of this matchup. Game 3, it came down to my opponent not having enough permission spells, because I just Catherined like
Oh yeah.
back to back. And yeah, that's how that worked.
Did Molten Collapse ever come into play? They played.
Nope, that one got forced to world immediately. It was like,
Yeah,
nope,
like, no.
nope, get this out of my house.
All right. So then after that, so we're into that was the first match of the second day. We're going on to the second match of the second day with Boros Painter. This seems like it would have been an uphill battle for your deck.
It was an uphill battle for me because, my God, they have so many ways to win. I have to worry about the graveyard. I have to worry about initiative. I have to worry about
Blood Moon.
Saga tokens, Blood Moon. So
Yeah.
there's just so many axes that I have to fight through. So game 1, I don't know if I won or lost. I can't remember most of it. All I remember was game 3, which I had to deed them twice and a terminus to knock out this game.
Wow.
And I think American Catherine at the end of it just kind of like helped seal it up, because they were at 10 life and 2 swings of Catherine and I won. But no, that was a feature match. I don't think they showed it on camera. I haven't watched the vlogs all the way back. But yeah, it's a 50-50 matchup. A painter being able to have swords on my creatures is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So now that you kind of you're basically have to think about your force rolls, like what is this card rolls going to be, if it's trying to protect my creature or to prevent them from advancing their game state. So that's kind of because most of the time force will for me, I just counter like, I don't want you to have it. But in Painter, it's one of those, I need to protect my creature.
Yeah, you got to decide the classic who's the beatdown. Are you going to be the aggressor here? And that opens you up to getting snuck with a combo.
Mm-hmm.
And this deck was also, I mean, as is the case with Painter typically, but between 5 Red Blast effects and 3 Swords to Plowshares, like, it is tough to stick one of your fatties on the table against a deck like this.
Yeah. Thank God for Pernicious Deed, because that makes that easy.
So then we go into a quarterfinals match against Nick Eldering, who we had on the show. Just dropped that episode today. We're recording this Friday night. This will go up on Monday morning. And this is where you knocked him out of the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on Garbage Pile.
Yeah. So Nick was very strong in game 2 because they resolved a early Darcy and I couldn't get rid of it. Game 3, they had a mold of 5 and I had turn on carpet.
Oof.
So at some point they casted a brainstorm and I just bowmastered in response. And the game was over.
That'll do it a lot of times. Yeah. To take what, 7 on the board total After you're taking what 8 on the board, I suppose, because you've got a 4/4, and and you take 4 to the dome.
Yeah, and what a parody
Yeah.
breaker Carpet of Flowers is. Because when Nick was on and in that interview too, Nick also was talking about how influential Carpet was, and that if he ran the deck back, he'd run an additional carpet. And you have 2 carpets. He was saying that he would have ran 2 carpets if he could have ran it back. So like that card seems like it's. I get that it sees a lot of play, but it might still not be quite as clearly valued as its effect is against Delver decks.
Yeah, carpet, like, of all the games that I won, I'm pretty sure all the games I won against Dover, I had a carpet
Mhm.
out. Yeah, it's and I don't think multi-class has ever resolved against a carpet. No,
So
absolutely not.
so we go into the semifinals, and you're playing against Cradle Control. This is an interesting one for me because these are decks. Your deck and Cradle Control are decks that do prey on fair decks for the most part. So it has to be an interesting matchup.
Oh, it was Cass. Well, shout out to Cass. You gave me the run for my money. Of all the opponents I've had the entire weekend, Cass was definitely the one that's this. We're going to play 3 games.
Yeah,
We're going to play 3 games. This is not a 2-0 match. Um, so game 1, I believe I got there with the early Catherine. Game 2, no, sorry. Game 1, they got there with just the beats, and I couldn't deal with it. Game 2, I got there with an early Catherine and just being able to just be able to remove all the Fiend Artisans, because that's how I lose. If they untap
yeah,
the Fiend Artisan, I die. That's how this works. Game 3, I don't remember much of the early interactions. I paint, Bone Master it, Mana Dork or something like that. But what was the defining thing was being able to rip a Terminus to tuck both their creatures in Stampede. Um,
nice. Yeah,
eh,
that just gives you that extra insurance you need.
yeah, and we're not done yet because eventually there's a board state where I have nothing, and I believe Cass has a Reclaimer, an Endurance, and I had Catherine for a lot of life, so they're slowly chipping me away. I'm I have no permission spells left. I have nothing. I just have lands, and they draw for turn, and they natural order. And part of me was like, I should just concede because if they get a Traxa, I just die. The Traxa is just game over. I can't beat a Traxa. But then they got Kratos Behemoth, and then I just go, that's interesting. Why didn't you get a Trexa? And then I realized in the back of my mind, oh wait, it's in their hand.
Oh, I was gonna say, did
Awkward.
they side them out? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oof.
they drew it the turn that they natural ordered, and
Uh,
that felt bad.
No, we love
yeah.
those
That-
wins. We love them.
But
yeah,
we
yeah.
love those
I mean, that's the
wins.
difference between winning and losing, right there.
hmm But hadn't Caddis was determined to win, like in game 3. But that 1% got me there.
There you go. All
So
right, so we go to the finals. You play Jay on Grixis Delver, and I think we've said this enough, but your deck preys on these Delver decks.
yeah. And here's what was really cathartic about that. Jay is a reigning champion, and Jay and I have gone back for years as friends. I remember we played at his house, and like he was on Sultai and I was on Maverick, and just playing these games. So it kind of was like the analogy of he's Gary Oak and I'm Ash Ketchum, and it's the champion league. Like it is like like the final music when you get to that room, and it's just
Yeah,
like
bum ba ba
it's
bum ba
literally
ba ba ba
just
ba. Yeah.
literally that.
I mean, so did it feel powerful knowing going in that you were Ash? Like you knew that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
lose, right? We know how that story goes.
yeah. So I'm pretty sure I had the best storyline out of all the Eternal Weekend moments. Like, so game 1, it's on stream, like it's live, so everyone's watching us, and it's just, I just want to say, like, it's one thing to play on stream. It's another thing when you get after the game and like all your friends are sending you like photos of me playing on stream from all over the country, and it's just this surreal moment of just like, Yeah. So game one, I'm on the play. I capped a really loose hand. I didn't have a turn cantrip because I know they have stifle, and I can't afford to get stifled on my fetches. So fetch and pass. They go land pass, and I just land go, and then eventually, and then on my turn three, I repped a Miracle Catherine, and I casted it. It resolved, and then on their turn four, they pondered, and then Darcy, and another land dropped. And then on my turn four, I ripped another Catherine.
Yeah,
Well, that'll do it.
we were watching.
Well, that'll do
So like the crew that I was watching the finals with, we were at a bar or something after the fact. We were like decompressing, whatever. We were watching the games, and I remember
Mhm.
when you ripped the first Catherine, I was like, not only is that a miracle, the other side of this miracle, and how you knew that you were the Ash Ketchum here, that like your plot armor was thick. And that you were going all the way was because not only did you miracle the triumph that turn, but also they didn't keep a force or a daze. Like
Or a
they didn't
stifle?
keep any of that. You just like they didn't stifle the miracle trigger. They didn't force you. They didn't daze you. It was like this is destiny. There's like pack it up now. Pack it up now. He played on like Valiant playing on, but like pack it up right there.
uh, yeah, chat. I saw chat blowing up when the second Catherine
Yeah,
resolved,
yeah.
and I was just, this is just, oh, okay, I have a shot.
Dude, when
Oh
you
my god.
miracled the Catherine, but then missed your third land drop, but they didn't
Yeah.
have force or daze. I was in this whole analogy. This is the equivalent to Pikachu thunderbolting the Onyx in one shot. Just like absolute, like the thread of things that has to happen to get to this timeline is so narrow. Destiny.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's so after that, I get wastelanded like twice. So I only have I literally the only board set I have is just a Catherine and 5, 6
Nothing
cards,
more poetic than
and just
that.
slowly. Right. I think so. It's just like if he wins with no permanence on the battlefield, I'm quitting Magic or something like that. It's just this legendary
It's
moment,
awesome.
and yeah. So eventually, I drew my lands and started to just purposefully allowing these spells to get dazed because I just need to get cards out of their hand. And that's kind of how you win Delver games. It's just you attritioning their hand because eventually they're going to have to respond and remove your threats and get dazed. So honestly, I'm perfectly not daze insulated, but I'm okay with my spells being dazed. I just don't care.
And
Eventually one
you
of my spells
eventually
will
get to a
resolve.
point where you can just outcard them too.
Yeah, yeah. This
Yeah.
being is going to draw more cards than your lightning bolt's gonna burn me
Yeah,
out.
Yeah.
there was one moment where they actually forced you. You had cast a beanstalk at one point, and they forced it, but they had a bowmaster
Yeah.
on the table, so there was like this weird catch point where it's like, is it actually better to let this bean resolve so they can grow their army, so they can actually like try and build up a heavy board to like because that's the
Hmm.
axis that matters because you're like beating them down. It was like a really interesting inflection point where they like just snapped a force on your beanstalk, and you seem to be very content with it, and as you should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think I ended game one with 30 life or so life. Either way, the magic number against Delver is like get above 30, they can't kill
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
fast enough until you find like things. So game one, yay!
Nice.
Game two. Oh my god. We so in this matchup for listeners at home, you typically want to board out your force of wills and your dress down because the way that the matchup plays out, I go more into like the mid-range plan where I have all my removal suite. I am just trying to progress, remove your, like a tempo. Like I play a threat, remove your threat. I play a threat, remove your threat, and that's kind of how this goes. Um, so being able to turn one carpet them, and not worrying about days at all, and then being able to just go dig my deck deeper with beans and find Catherines, and you know that's kind of how I won game two.
When you were going
All
into
right.
the second game after having won the first one off of these back-to-back miracles, did it feel any different knowing that you were a game away in a favorable matchup from becoming the champ? Like, did that influence at all, or were you just like zoned in and able to like tune out the noise, so to speak.
I zoned into not because I knew I was going to need to drive 4 hours home.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go home.
The real win is sleeping, right? Of course.
Because
Yeah, I mean, I felt that way. Yeah. You're just like, all I want to do is go to. I've done enough. You know,
right,
like if I come in second, that's fine. I just want to take a nap. You
right,
know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Especially after a long weekend. Yeah, no, at that point I just went bed. So
Yeah.
when although I will say this now, but I misplayed in game two. When I cast a Catherine, I should have cast a Murktide because they had a Delver that's flipped. So because my life total was at 15 and they bolted me to 12. So if they bolted me to 12, attack and pop me, I was dead. But you know, it's one of those things where I recognize that I allow my opponent to win if they top that press prowess. And it's as we get better at this game, it's kind of like I recognize that. Let's not do that
Yeah.
again. So now
So
in
you take it down and just tell me how put us in your shoes right as the the final life points taken away. What are you going through?
I didn't win a tournament. I just like, oh, I won a match. Yay! I can go home. I was
Because you had to have
so
been
ready to go.
swarmed.
Right.
Yeah.
I was so ready to go home. I was just like, I got out of my seat. I packed my stuff up, got out of my seat. I'm kind of just I just kind of just in my head, just kind of just yay, I won that. Yay, we're good. And then I didn't start processing what's happening until the announcer said your legacy champion TK Strong, and it's just like, oh, I did it, yay! Not realizing what I won.
Mhm.
I just like, oh, I did it, yay! So like all these people coming up to me and hugging me and just like congratulating me, but I haven't really eternalized what I've done. I just said on the surface of, oh, I won, yay, cool, all right, let's go home. I need to go home.
Mhm.
And so I guess I want to say over a couple of hours, getting home and like reading these messages, it was actually until like the next day was when all of those emotions kind of just let out of,
Yeah.
oh, I won a legacy tournament. I did the thing that young me could never do. And that was when, like, by the way, as a champion, advice do not go to work the next day. Just take the day off.
Take it off. Yeah, take it off.
Just take the
Call
day
out.
off.
Call out. Hey, I won a big magic tournament, guys. I'm a powerful wizard and I'm taking the day off.
I don't care what you do,
Yeah.
don't work the next day.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. Take the day off. Did you
Oh,
take a day off this week? I feel like you should have.
no, I should
Come
have,
on.
and
Yeah.
that's why
Treat
I'm not
yourself.
telling my future title son, whatever, take the day off.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot for you. So, but no, it was just all throughout this week of just the constant gratitude and just seeing, how like after at in Pokemon Yellow, the end of the games where you beat the Elite Four, you become the champion, and then the end credits, they kind of go back in time of your progression of your journey, and that's what like the last 48 hours after I won was. It's just going back in time of all the things I've done and all the people I met, and just seeing the people that I have touched my life, has affected my life, has helped me grow as a Magic player, and that right there is honestly the best thing that's happened to me.
I mean, what a perfect analogy for the season, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, TK, it's been a pleasure to have you on, and the story is inspiring, man. The journey to here, from I want to say like you came from other card games before this, right?
yeah. I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player.
Yeah, I think I've seen the meme. I think I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um. Yeah. So coming from other card, Phil came from Yu-Gi-Oh actually.
I
Uh.
TK, to this day, I still use Yu-Gi-Oh tokens as a nod to our former selves. But look, when I treat
When I started playing Magic, there weren't other card games.
there you
So
go. TK,
There you go.
when I entreat all of my angels, a bunch of honests hit the table.
Yes, That is the perfect
It's the
angel
perfect
token.
angel token.
I approve.
TK, the only thing is that like I have to win one of these tournaments. I got to join you because I need the ghost rares to really level up my token game. I'm on this
Oh.
ultra rare trash because I'm a heathen. You know, I need to get some. I want the OG secrets and like some ghosts, but like those things are too expensive.
Well now, okay, so my friends got me back into Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's Edison format. So like that 2009, 2011 era of Yu-Gi-Oh, where it was like, it's the equivalent of pre-modern.
Yeah, yeah, I
It's,
get you.
um,
I play the Clan War version of Legend of the Five Rings. I know exactly where you're coming from.
yeah, it was just, so now I just have like my old cards again and just playing it. Just like, well, now that I'm a champion of Magic, I have to go to the other two. I gotta be a Yu-Gi-Oh champion, a Pokemon champion, and I have all three.
Dude, yo,
Get the trifecta going. Yeah.
if you go to the Pokemon World Champs, can you every single like the entire EW from Pittsburgh would go to wherever that is and just be like the loudest crowd.
He's gonna be the
We would
very
all be
best.
singing.
Just all
We
of
would
us
all be
yelling.
singing together.
I have the Ash outfit from the
Yeah.
final
Oh
season.
god. So good. So good.
Good.
All right. All
Oh.
right. I'd love to keep doing this, but we do have to end eventually. And but I wanted to say thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it, and it's really great to get a chance for the community to get to know you better as well.
No, thank you for having me on, and I love doing
Hell
this
yeah.
type of stuff. It's great. It's like, finally I'm noticed. I'm just kidding.
Well, we'll have to have you on again as well. So stay tuned. It'll definitely happen. We'll be having you chime in again relatively in this relative future as well.
Hell yeah. I'm always a phone call away or a message.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we'll get on when you're prepping for your title defense. We'll definitely see like
Exactly.
when
Yeah.
MH3 comes out and the entire format is overhauled.
We're like,
We'll see where your head's at, and then between rounds at the top tables, we'll play some Edison. It'll be great.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
have to find out what Fallout card you slot into the deck, and we'll see.
Oh my god. Now you
and
just
with that,
remind
and
me.
with that, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you get a chance, please check out our Patreon. We're really ramping up a lot of things this year, and we could really use the support. Check out this video. It's a lot of other interviews that we have, some really great luminaries in the format. Thanks so much for watching. Later on.